everybody, it's Emma Lightning, and welcome once again to another PSA review. Today, we will be reviewing 5 of what I consider some of the most overrated PSAs. Now, last time we went over what I consider underrated PSAs, and those were a lot easier to pick because I think a lot of PSAs are underrated, and the fact that that made that list so easy to make was what made this list so hard to make, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. I've been doing this a long time, guys. As I've mentioned before, my obsession with PSAs first began when I watched Pizza's Top 50 Scariest PSAs video way back in October of 2013, which was a dark time. And some PSAs never lose their charm. Some have stood the test of time very well. And as much as I like to think I've seen it all, I just keep discovering new material all the time. And there are some that have managed to surprise me with their innovation, cleverness, and artistry, even after all these years. But the problem with that is, after a while, some of the more famous PSAs start to grow stale and, dare I say, boring. You know the ones. These are the ones that appear in non-PSA channels' reaction videos, and yeah, of course, they're going to be shocking the first time you see them, but once you've seen it for the 87th time, the best entertainment it can provide only comes from seeing other people react to it. Now, not all of the big, scary PSAs and PIFs are like this. There are plenty that still manage to dig into my anxiety-ridden brain and affect me. Today, though, we are going over 5 of the ones that have overstayed their welcome, I suppose. I've grown immune to them, and I can't understand the hype anymore, if I ever did, so let's get started.
I'm the sous chef here. With any luck, I should be head chef by next year.
Well, we might as well start with the one that's bound to cause the fewest arguments, I think. At this point, I can and will recite this one by heart, and it's not out of a fondness, I can tell you that. Well, that's not entirely true. I don't hate this one, per se. I just think it is by far the weakest of all the PreventIt.ca ads. Yes, I said it. It gives the least information, and the only reason it's so notorious and well-known more than the others, it's because of how shocking and graphic it is. And I will admit, the ending is pretty horrific. I mean, have you ever paused and looked at that split second where they show her face up close? Ooh. But as we all know, gore and mood whiplash, while fine in the right places, does not make a good PSA. Still, I think this one is okay for like a PSA connoisseur starter kit. Like if you were putting together a beginner's scary PSA and PIF kit, you'd throw in the PreventIt.ca ads, a handful of Meth Project, Lucky, Cartoon Boy, and some fire safety stuff. And I don't know, maybe Apaches if you were feeling spicy. By the way, would anybody be interested in seeing me review Apaches or The Finishing Line? Let me know. I will definitely look into that. Anyway, Top Chef falls kind of flat, no pun intended. And it even spawned several very similar PSAs, one of which I can confidently call a blatant ripoff. And usually that would be a good sign, you know, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery and all that, but in this case, it just makes it feel tired and tasteless.
He said he'd love me forever if I smoked crack with him.
Alright, I have to be real with you guys for a minute. This one, it's a filler spot, since really I was only able to find 4 PSAs that I genuinely thought fit this list. The ones that are fairly well known and well received, or barring that, well feared. I just didn't want to leave it at 4, so I really did try to find a 5th one that both fit those criteria and also was one that I didn't particularly like. But after hours of PSA consumption and research, I finally had to give it up. There just aren't that many PSAs I dislike enough to put on this list. So I just put something in this spot that kind of fits. Now, I'm not exaggerating any of my own thoughts here, but I will say that I don't actually know if people generally like these ads or not. I'd assume they're kind of like middling in terms of reception. Anyway, all that said, I don't know what it is about them that rubs me the wrong way. Probably the combination of the cliches and the obviously not on drugs teenagers. It just feels like, it feels really overdone. And the Party All Night one even made it onto my top 10 worst PSAs list. Looking back, was that a little harsh? Probably. But I still find it melodramatic, kind of insufferable, and it has that weird problem that modern PSAs pandering to the youths tend to have, where it goes both way too far and not far enough at the same time. I don't know how so many have managed to pull this off, but I guess it's just a result of the big boys trying to make something relatable. Granted, I know it is next to impossible to make teenagers listen, so a valiant effort was probably made with these, but they are too bland to give any attention to. So I'm officially going to dub these the You Tried PSAs.
They said if I did coke, I could party all night. They lied. Find out the truth about cocaine. Drugfreeworld.org.
This one is probably also a less controversial choice. I think a lot of people actually kind of hate this one. I don't hate it, I just find it funny to see people's expressions when they watch it. But really, even that's kind of growing old. When you know it's coming, this PIF is essentially just 20 seconds of sitting and waiting for the music to wrap up so you can get kind of angry at the RSPCA. And what's the point in that? After the first watch, it kind of loses all potency, and then it either sparks rage or laughter as the most extreme of reactions. But for the majority of people, including me, it's, oh yeah, it's this one again. And that should not be my reaction to seeing a dog be held at gunpoint. I should not be bored. And it's not just a matter of me having seen this one over and over for a few years, because Swim still gets me every time, so there you go. This one just completely loses its appeal after the first couple watches, and it certainly doesn't make me feel good about the RSPCA as an organization.
Please give us £1, or we'll have to pull the trigger.
Shall I tell you about my life?
I've expressed a few times how I feel about both Shame and its hilarious sequel, but I do want to go over it again because I couldn't not talk about it here. You might recall my sister's reaction to this one.
Oh, you don't like that?
Never, ever drink.
Oh, really? And of course, that just made me feel like a heartless bastard, but still, my opinion has not really changed. I'm sorry, I know it's supposed to be very heart-wrenching and shocking, and it kind of is, but God, talk about a badly placed mood whiplash. It's so over the top, and the music doesn't enhance it, in my opinion, it just adds to the melodrama. Alright, you know what, look, I'll make you guys a deal. If you can give me evidence that anyone has ever driven their car off the road, crashed through someone's suburban fence, and flipped directly onto a small child playing happily in their backyard, then I will change my mind about this one. If you really want to evoke my emotions about a topic as serious as this, you have to commit. You either have to make it more realistic, which this is not, or more metaphorical and surreal, which this also is not. This one just falls squarely into what I'm officially going to dub the Shame Valley. The land of forced melodrama and obvious tear-mongering, which is another thing I just made up. Get it? It's like fear-mongering, but yeah. Anyway, Shame sucks. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. Okay, yes. Before you say anything, this one was very high on my Partnership for a Drug-Free America ranking list. And yeah, I do still think it's one of their better ads, for sure. The problem is, there's a grading curve for partnership ads, and we all know it. Basically, if they manage to step out of the box at all and actually affect me emotionally, then they get points for trying. This one sort of succeeds at the former, but as for the latter, it's never done anything but kind of confuse me and maybe give me that feeling of, yeah, I knew this one would be on this list because it's a classic choice for any drug PSA compilation. But you want to know something? I have never understood why. I can see why some people might be creeped out and unsettled the first time, like having someone stare right out into the camera. I wasn't really creeped out, personally. I was expecting something much worse, but okay, whatever. But when you break it down, it's just weird. First of all, I don't really think there's any reason for Happy Birthday to be the song of choice other than, you know, that trope of making innocent songs creepy, but okay, whatever, we can overlook that. Second, it's incredibly vague, which is a problem that's present in a lot of partnerships ads, so I don't know why this one gets off the hook so easily. Third, it's called Faces, and I sure don't know why, because as far as I can tell, there's only one face here, and it's not a particularly expressive face either. I see that it's like supposed to be deteriorating slowly, but it's a little too subtle. And honestly, I can overlook all that stuff. I can still call this a pretty good and creepy PSA, but I'm nitpicking because it apparently disturbs so many people, and that just kind of baffles me. Like, what am I missing? Please tell me what I'm missing with this one. Of course, though, these are all just my opinions, and this is all in good fun. I don't know how many of you will see where I'm coming from, or even some of you might agree with me, some of you might disagree, and I'm not trying to like bash anybody who does like these PSAs. When it really comes down to it, none of these are bad. At least not as bad as like the really bad ones. It's just that they are very much PSAs, straightforward, and that's just not that fun anymore. They're not that fun to watch, and I don't know, this is something I really enjoy and I'm passionate about it, and I like having fun watching PSAs and talking about them, and with these, despite the fact that I've rambled on about them, there's just not that much to talk about anymore. So yeah, let me know what you guys think are more overrated PSAs. The fact is, like, people don't tend to talk about them, so I have no idea what people actually think. I just kind of went off the general opinions of the PSA PIF community already. Anyway, regardless of what you thought, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you want the theme of my next review to be. I'm open to suggestions. As I said before, I am working on possibly some commercial reviews, which is such a broad topic that it's probably going to take a little while for me to get a solid grip on it. And I'm also currently writing a script to review some very strange PSAs that I recently discovered, so look forward to that. I also want to do another, maybe like taking dumb BuzzFeed quizzes, because that was really fun to record and edit. And I'm hoping to do another collaboration with some of my friends if they're ever up for it. Oh, and speaking of collaborations, if any of you have stuck around till the end of this video, you might notice there's a link in the description below that is linked to a survey on SurveyMonkey. I need you to go and, if you would, fill out the survey. You don't have to answer all the questions in detail, like they're just like general questions. You can skip some of them or just put whatever. But I am going to use that for research for it's a surprise review, and I might need some help with other PSA enthusiasts to collab with me, so I'll get more details on that in the future, but yeah, I'm looking for people to collab with, so anyway, that's enough talking from me for now. If you want to make the subscribe happy, hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications and all that good stuff. I might be starting a live stream a little bit more often, so the notifications are especially important, and yeah, that is all for now, and I will see everybody next time. Bye!